Hi, everyone. It's Jen from Mind's Eye. And today on the podcast, we're going to talk about resentment and how resentment actually comes about after an instance, after anything, even to a nuance, where it causes an act of war in someone's mind, body, and soul, to where they just write one letter to one number to one word or a look, and it causes such disrupt that you just can't understand. But in reality, how I was taught, being in healthcare and growing alongside of law enforcement and military, that resentment was a form of souring that you just couldn't get rid of. And that meant that the wound was just so deep that you couldn't understand. So when you actually could understand at that point that you couldn't even do anything. So when you actually get to the point where a wound is so deep, even to the soul, you have to actually learn to sit and stay still. Because when you actually sit and stay still and then you rest, you actually have a perspective that you've blended with your trauma. You've blended maybe with a criminal or your enemy, or even just simply uh energy of the collective. Maybe you blended with your wound, which is scarring, which is overlap and overlay as a cover up per se. You just couldn't understand how it would happen on a delay. So when you actually look through it, and I have to say delay because you just can't go through. So that is how, it started about 3 years ago when I got so sick. And it started with resentment because I followed policy and procedure and I stayed out sick. And then it was, I am too sick to take my flu vaccine. So I didn't take it. But prior, I had changed my position from full-time to part-time. But because I didn't get my flu vaccine, I was no longer employed. So then it went to a whole different perspective. And it went to, why am I getting a letter saying that I would be prosecuted in a way because I didn't turn in my equipment in a timely fashion? I was too sick to actually come into the office. And then the resentment actually grew when familiar faces stated, I was going to do a wellness check on you, but I decided not to. And then it went to, I understand that you're going to go on deployment, but you got to do a don. And I said, that didn't come out of me. I heard that. I literally had to sit and listen. I couldn't even believe. So for me, my habit at that point was just rest, get over your illness, get back to where you need to be because it's just a cold. That's all you need to know. Can't be just a cold because X, Y, and Z. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 12 years. And then when it went to the deployment, it went to how come he was not doing anything around the house? I have a mess like a tornado went through. And then it went to why isn't anyone really checking on me because of what has happened? And it actually went to explaining my situation to people and them going, oh, and moving on. So I had every right to be angry. I had every right to resent everything. I had every right to even up to do complaint charges to a restraining order because of mental, emotional, up to physical detriment. It's called neglect. But in short, resentment can go over in a way unknown to be renowned. So how do you do? Well, technically, you're not qualified for anything because of your insurance. You're not qualified for home care because you can actually shower yourself. Is this still anger? No, this is actually what America is at this point. It was recently stated that uh, a well-known insurance company will now cut off the amount of time anesthesia is administered, even if it's overtime in a surgery. All you need to know is that it caused mental harm. It caused everything to many people who had gone through that already. It lit a fire in Connecticut. So when I actually went to go represent myself and find out truly what had happened to me on how a cold can last 3 to 4 months to levitating off the couch, I had to say that I think is a little bit more than just a cold. So when I actually went and I researched for myself, I had to say, I got to sit with this a little longer. I got to pace myself out because realistically, as a visiting nurse farmer, now retired, because I'm again tired and I need new tires, I had to say it was highly criminal to the furthest extent of none. It was what's realistic. I got up and I got showered today, and I'm alive with my kids. Yep. I paid the bills today and I didn't forget. I can actually clean the cat litter. I can cook a whole meal. I can clean half the house again. So when now at this point, because it's been about 3 years and I actually do pretty well, they actually have to tell me to slow down. And they say, how did you recover from that? How did you recover from that? It was just bronchitis and it was just a cold, clear liquid drainage from my nose. So with that being said, you just couldn't even do it. You couldn't put a due date on it. That most of the time that means more resentment and anger to lashing out to popping off. But when you actually go through everything, you can't even cry at some point. You can't even do it physically because resentment, which is a form of souring, actually causes mental, emotional, and physical regression. So then you get winded to shortness of breath. There's something about it completely. So how do you get over it? How do you move on? How do you push on? Do you forget it and move on? Or do you sit quietly and wait again to see if it happens? Did it do a run through? Did it happen again? Do you have to report it in? More ways than one. It's not sure. It's not clear, but it's true. Why is it true? I heard it, I felt it, I saw it, I lived it. I confirmed it. Where's the evidence? Not to be known. There truly is nothing wrong with being a little sour, to having a little resentment, because it puts a fire into something or into someone else that can need a little bit, which is the next part of healing, resilience. You can go through something and be it all. Do you want to sting it, be it all? Do you want to curse it out, a BEA? Do you want to hash it out, an MEA? Or do you want to be it all? There's a difference. Always remember that in America, you can do anything and everything and something and nothing because it's boiled to rights all the way through to law and addendum and referendum to legislature and bill. Now, when you actually look again at resentment and where I am and maybe where someone else is, you can't get it known, which means you can't even speak about it. That means your right was taken away for freedom of speech. Because it doesn't matter. It was so bizarre, bizarre, probably what happened, because it hit and slammed you so fast that you couldn't even sue it. You can't bring it into a court. It can't even be a song and dance that they see. So when you actually get to the point where you follow everything, even timeliness, and they say there's just really nothing that you can do. And you say, I tried. I tried. Resentment to souring to anger to popping off. It's almost like stages of grief to hardening. So excuse me if I don't lament, which is actually really the definition of sorrow, or cry. I actually intuitively and instinctively got harder. So did it make me a better person going through that? It's just not clear. How can it not be clear? Or is it truly following HIPAA, Privacy Acts, to knowing when to enter a house? Where'd that come from? Not sure. But all you need to know is that all is known. There's a saying in nursing that pain is what the patient says it is, not what you say it is when you document it. Most have lost the art of objectivity to subjectivity. Objectivity is point blank what you saw with your eyes, what you heard with your ears. Do you understand? The rest is what you felt, what you perceived. It does not hold up in a court of law. Concrete. So with that being said, once you become hard After it, can you love? Can you love? You can, just in a different way. Can you be gentle? Yes. Just know your pace, know your place, and know when to go forward. That's all you need to know. All those, gifts of love and patience and guidance and prudency are still there. They're just dormant, healing, because war came out harder first. And that's all you need to know. So with that being said, that's all I have to say about the topic of resentment. Any questions or concerns, go ahead and email me or leave me a comment. We'll talk to you soon.